Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Colleen at MikeColleen.com. Let me try something. Yeah, we'll do it like that. Alright, so it's Mike Colleen at MikeColleen.com. Actually, I like with pretty good lights on. Let's see if that works. I'll just leave it at that. And, alright, so what I want to talk about today is, alright, so I've noticed something over the last... I mean, I noticed it years ago, but I really noticed it over the last 4 or 5 years, and especially, I would say in the last year and a half, 2 years, like, it has intensified. And what I'm talking about is people will just out of nowhere, whether it's in person, online, on YouTube, or just anywhere, even on Facebook, out of the blue, they will just be all like, oh, God's not real. I'm like, what? And I'm like, okay, well, thanks for sharing. And so it's weird because usually it comes up out of the blue, like you're not even talking about, like, what are you talking about? And so I'm going to talk a couple things about this because there's a couple things I noticed over the last, I think the first time I noticed it was about 15 years ago or more, and it really stood out. I was like, wait, you think what? And so here's what it is first of all, okay, you get these people that will try to prove to you that, number one, God's not real, and then number two, that the Bible's not real, that the Bible's just a bunch of made-up stories. And here's one of the things that made me go, oh, wait a minute. I didn't catch it right now. I caught this part, but I didn't catch the deeper part. So the first thing that stood out, again, this was a long time ago, 15 plus years ago. I started, I didn't catch it right away, but after I was like, wait, what? And it was like the third or fourth person, maybe the fifth person who said it to me. I go, wait a minute, what did you say? And they're like, oh, so you think that like, that God's like, like a white man up in the clouds looking down on us with a big long white beard like Santa Claus. And I was like, wait, what did you say? You think God looks like Santa Claus? They're like, yeah. I was like, I've never heard that in my life. And I remember I said that the first couple times. I was like, wow, that's weird. Never heard that. And they're like, well, what do you mean? Isn't that what you believe? I'm like, no, I've never heard that in my life. In fact, I didn't say this back then, but I said this more recently. I said, where does it say that in the Bible, that he's a white man up in the clouds looking down on us with a big white beard? And this person that I said that to goes, oh, well, I don't really know. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? Because this person, it wasn't just this one person. I've heard this argument for a long time. And it was like, what are you talking about? Like, does that say that in the Bible? Because I'm thinking, wow, I must have missed that one. Holy shit. And they're like, oh, well, I don't really, because I said, what book is that in? What chapter and verse? Like, oh, I don't really know. I'm like, well, what do you mean you don't know? You're the one claiming this. I'm like, well, and he goes, well, isn't that what you believe? I'm like, fuck no. I go, the Bible very clearly states that God is not like this physical flesh being. It clearly states that God is so powerful that he's like this pure energy, and I kind of almost equate it to this powerful nuclear energy like the sun. Now, again, that's me equating it, but I believe it was Moses. No, it was Noah. I believe it was Noah, yeah. And Noah said, I want to see you or show me your face. And God said, I can't because it'll kill you. And he said, go into this mountain, little crevice of the mountain, and face towards the crevice and walk like kind of close to it. And I'll pass behind you, far, far behind you. And he got kind of a glimpse of a light of God. So to me, if I were to take that, I'd be like, I think God's energy. I think God is a form of light. A very powerful light, so powerful that you can't look at him. So this is not just one person, but there's, okay, I'm just going to spit it out. So this person literally said, he goes, well, I've never actually read the Bible. I'm like, what? Because this person would keep bringing shit up about the Bible that I was like, really? Where is that in the Bible? Oh, I don't really know. Well, isn't that what you believe? And so I finally one day go, wait a minute, where are you getting all this shit? I go, where did you study the Bible? Like, oh, well, I never have. I'm like, so do you read the Bible? No. I'm like, so how do you know? He goes, well, to be honest with you, I don't. I'm like, so why are you telling me that this is what I believe? I don't believe that. That's not what the Bible says. And he goes, well, to be honest with you, I wouldn't really know because I've never actually read the Bible. And I'm like, so why are you arguing this? It was just such a weird, like, what the, it was just bizarre. So that was just a thought I wanted to share. And maybe it'll give you guys some ammunition to just be like, oh yeah, here's the other point. I almost forgot. Okay, got it. So here's the other thing that I think is absolutely batshit crazy bizarre. So again, this has really picked up over the last 3 years. Now, it's been going on for longer than that. But something's been going on. I think it's because, okay, let's be honest. The world's becoming more and more dangerous and evil and crooked and all that stuff. More crime, more everything. And there's been this real battle going on for your spirit or for your mind, okay? You know, the left is trying to, make up all this bullshit. Oh, so and they're all, okay, here's the deal. People that are, what's the word that people say they don't believe in God? Atheists. And then there's probably some other ones. But they're always like making up this bullshit to put doubt in your mind. And that's exactly what's going on. It's like, well, why do you care, number one? Okay. So number two, it's like, okay, so let me get this straight. So you believe that God's not real. They're like, uh-huh. And number two, you believe that the stories in the Bible aren't real. Like, uh-huh. And yet, you've never read the Bible, so how would you know? All right, so that's not really the point I'm trying to make. Here's the point I'm trying to make. So you're sitting there, you go around trying to convince people of something that you don't believe. And you're trying to convince them of something that you don't believe exists. That's be like, there's not a car next to me. And I'm like, I'm going to prove to you that there's not a car next to me. I'm like, well, I can pretty much just see it. So it's like, why would you go around spending time on something that you don't believe exists? So if you just use a little common sense, that's like the dumbest thing in the world. Like, so you're wasting my time and your time and convincing someone of something that you don't believe exists. Like why? Like, why do you care? That'd be like me going up to an artist and saying, oh, I don't believe that, or going up to a musician or to a doctor. Oh, I don't believe that because I don't know that. So here's the thing. I'm going to wrap it up with this. There's a bunch of other things I could bring up that are along this line, but the Bible very clearly states, and I don't have the specific verbiage right now, but it clearly states that basically, until you're ready to receive and really have an experience of God, you're not going to have it until you open. Okay. All right. Here's what it is. It's really simple. If you close the door and you don't open the door to go into the other room or the other side, of course you're not going to believe in God. So here's the deal. These people are very logical people. They're stuck in their brain, like a narcissist. And usually these are narcissists. What has a narcissist done? What have I told you over the years in my videos? They completely block off their right side of their brain. They hide behind their logic. All right? And so I'm kind of paused because someone actually said that to me and said, oh, I'm an empath. I hide behind my logic. I was like, okay, whatever, dude. So the right brain is the spiritual brain. All right. It's the open brain. The left brain is in the box thinking. It's the scientific brain. It's really good for, when you want to get rid of all the other variables and you want to focus on one or two and how they interact with each other. Okay. So it's literally in the box thinking. It has its place. The problem is you're never going to connect with spirituality or God by being into the logical left, rule-oriented left brain. You have to open up to the right brain. Well, what does that take? That takes commitment. You have to stretch. You have to do yoga. You have to do deep breathing. You have to do, meditation. It really takes work, especially for logical people, to open up to that. So here's my point. Look, man, if you don't flick the light switch, and I'm talking about a regular light switch in your home, in your room, in your living room, whatever. If you don't flick it on, it's not gonna fucking go on, okay? But what they'll do is say, oh, well, I'm not gonna do it because I don't believe it. I'm like, well, why don't you just open it up and find out? No, I don't want to do that because I don't believe it's real. Well, maybe you'll find out that it is real if you open up the door and walk in. No, I don't want to do that. That is the dumbest argument on the planet. So you're going to sit there and tell me you don't believe something that you refuse to even find out. All right. So I understand that those people that are overly logical and they think, that's blocking your awareness. I mean, my whole work, everything I do with my clients, I don't care what you come to me for, whether it's dating, relationship coaching, whether it's communication coaching, whether it's influence, narcissist abuse, whatever, the number one thing I'm going to do is teach you all these techniques on how to open up and become emotionally grounded, because that's where your power comes from. Now, here's the deal. I'm going to wrap it up with this. These people that tell you that they don't believe that God is real, that the Bible is just full of stories, they know God's real. They're trying to convince you. They're trying to put doubt in your mind. They're trying to trick you. See, all you have to do, okay, this is a really simple thing, whether it's about God or whether it's about you being good at boxing or kickboxing or art or music or being an actress or starting a business. What are they doing? They're putting doubt in you. They're telling you you can't do this or this is not real. That's doubt. The minute someone starts to put doubt in your mind or talks about, oh, I don't believe that. Oh, I don't believe, that's fine. You're a non-believer. And you know what I noticed about these people? None of them are successful. None of them do good in sports. None of them do good in school. None of them go anywhere. Because they're non-believers. It's not, forget about God. Forget about God. Forget about that. They just don't believe, period, in themselves. And they want to get you to have doubt, so now you won't believe in yourself. And that's their ultimate goal. That's what this is really all about. They don't want to see you succeed. They don't, look, even psychology, I remember back in the, when did I first go to college? Fall of 87. So I think it was the next year in a psychology class. There was a study done on people that were religious people that believed in a God or a spirit or something, right? Those people tend to live happier, healthier lives. They tend to do very well in life and socialize with other people very well. So the result of the experiment or the study was, it doesn't really matter if there is a God or isn't. What matters is these people are doing a lot better. They're happier. So you've ever noticed all the people that are like, they're trying to argue with you? Well, they're miserable people. That's why they argue, because they're miserable. So stop wasting your time with those people. Seriously. And remember, those people actually do. Okay, I got a story for you. Okay. All right, watch this. All right. So this was in airborne school. All right. Airborne infantry. I was trained at Fort Benning, Georgia. I did basic boot camp, advanced infantry, specialty training. I'm trying to forget the one after that. And then after that, I went to airborne training, airborne school. Right. And me and this guy, Forrest, his name's Forrest. His last name was Forrest Dart. So close to Forrest Gump, but he was a preacher's son. And he and I kind of palled around because we really believed in the Bible and Christianity and blah, blah, blah. And there's these two guys during airborne school that just thought, oh, you're so full of shit. That stuff's not real. It's not real. Why do you even pray? And they would give us so much shit about praying and God and all that stuff. Well, here's the interesting thing. On the first jump, Forrest, because we happened to be sitting next to each other, and we had our parachutes on, we loaded up, and it was a really hot day, so everyone lost about 8 or 10 pounds from the sweat, just, from loading up, because you've got over about 90 pounds or 100 pounds worth of equipment on with a chute. So we're sweating our ass off. We get on the plane, and the engines are hot, and you have to walk in the plane. The engines are blowing back at you. So we get on, and where we sat next to each other, we were right across from those two guys. And I started to pray, and Forrest elbowed me. I'm like, what? He goes, look, those two guys were praying. We were like, what? And I was like, what the fuck? And so we ended up doing the jump and landing. And I don't think we said anything the first time. But the second time, Forrest, he goes, hey man, let's see what they do this time. Sure enough, on the second jump, they were scared too, and they were terrified, because jumping out of a plane is a pretty terrifying thing, especially the first couple times. You don't know what's going to happen. Well, they were freaking terrified, and so were we. And we prayed, but this time we were paying more attention, and we were watching. And once they sat down, they both immediately started praying together. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense for two people that are adamant about God's not real, prayer's bullshit. Because they were very vocal about it to everyone, out loud. They didn't hide it at all. And so after we landed that time, we confronted them, saying, hey, what's your deal? They're like, well, what do you mean? Like, I thought you guys said you didn't believe in prayer and didn't believe in God. They're like, we don't. They're like, you guys have been lied to. It's bullshit. And they're like, so why do you pray so much when we're going up for the jump? And they're like, we didn't pray. Like, yeah, you did. Like, no, we didn't. What are you talking about? And so we kind of argued, and I just like, what is their deal? Like, what is their game, right? Like, I didn't get it. I thought they were just effing it with us at that point, being smart asses, or, I thought they were going to say, we're just messing with you dudes. So then on the very next jump, same thing. And Four said, why don't, no, it was me. When they started to pray, I waited about 2 minutes or 3 minutes into the prayer, and I go, hey, you guys are praying. Said it really, and I pointed at them, and they looked at us, and they had their hands together, and they looked up like, oh shit, see, you do pray, blah, blah, blah. Like, what is your deal with effing? And so they're like, oh, fuck, oh, okay. And so after we landed, I was pretty fucking pissed, and I went right up to them. I'm like, what is your fucking deal? You sit there and harass the fuck out of us, and you sit there and say, oh, I don't believe in God, I don't believe in prayer, it's bullshit. And that's all you do is pray to God. And they both said, we didn't realize that we were praying until you screamed at us and yelled it out. Something like that. I don't remember the exact verbiage, but they admitted, like, we didn't realize we were doing it. So here's the deal, people. If people are if people are so damn adamant about telling you that God doesn't exist, number one, clearly they do, because otherwise they wouldn't say anything. That'd be like me saying a freaking X-striped, Z-striped, zebra, hippopotamus, fucking zoo, tiger, alien spaceship doesn't exist. And they'd be like, what? Why would I talk about that? Why would I go around telling people something I don't believe in it? And I don't, it's here's the deal. And here's the worst part. Think about this. Have you ever in your life spent a ton of energy trying to convince something that wasn't real, that you really didn't believe was real? No, you don't do that. And here's the thing. Did these people do this one time to one person? No. They probably did it to you 10 or 15 times the first couple weeks that they knew you or found out that you believed in God. And you're looking at them like, why do you give a shit?
So, number one, they go around and constantly telling people, oh, God's not real. And here's the second part, number two. They have all these arguments that they've worked on and prepared, and all these visualizations like, oh, do you believe that it's a white man up in the clouds looking down on us with a big white beard like Santa Claus? They have all this bullshit. Now, let me ask you a question. Have you ever spent so much time and invested so much time into something that you didn't believe in to convince other people not to believe in it? No, you probably didn't. Now, a close comparison would be flat earthers, okay? Now, I'm not for or against it. I believe the earth's round, but I don't really care. So here's the deal. Even flat earthers, they don't try to convince you that what you believe isn't real. They're trying to convince you that this other thing is real. So this is how you can tell someone who's just either negative or a narcissist. They're not trying to convince you of something that they believe. They're trying to convince you of something that they don't believe, which is, it's like, do you see how stupid that is? It's like, really, it's like, oh, well, I don't believe in welding. I don't believe there's oxygen. I think that's an illusion. And I'm going to spend the next 20 years of my life trying to convince people that oxygen is not real. That is just absolutely retarded. So my point being is, if someone's trying to convince you of something that they don't believe in, that is a absolute red flag. That's a narcissist. That's someone who's it's like most people go around telling people what they believe. I mean, it's such a weird concept. Yeah, I don't believe that there's that there's nothing here. Really? Okay, well, why don't you explain to me how much you don't believe about nothing is not there? It's just a really dumb concept. That's all I'm saying.